Well, thank you for staying with us. Now, going by the harsh operating business environment occasioned by current macroeconomic challenges, telecommunication companies under the aegis of licensed telecom operators of Nigeria, ALTON, have asked the Nigerian Communications Commission for upward reviews in the tariff for voice calls, short messages, services, and data. Now, this proposal means that price cap on phone calls will increase from 6 naira 40 kobo to 8 naira 95 kobo, while SMS cost will also increase from 4 naira to 5 naira 61 kobo. Well, joining me via Zoom to understand this properly is the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, Mr. Gbenga Adebayo. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Adebayo. It's good to see you today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Yes, this is new. Well, you would explain to us what prompted this. 40% increase on voice, data, and SMS. What is really happening, Mr. Adebayo? Please let Nigerians understand what the situation is.
Yeah, we made a situation report to the regulator, the Nigerian Communications Commission, bringing them abreast about the difficulty in the operating environment, and also providing some statistical information about the current state of affairs, about cost of providing service relative to the regulatory directive that we currently have in place. And we sought for their intervention by way of regulatory intervention. Our first call was not for a tariff increase, but was rather to look at what kind of regulatory instrument can be put in place to minimize the impact of that and to forestall price increase. So we are not saying today that we're going to increase rates, but we are saying that if the regulator will not provide the required intervention, we may have no choice than to consider a possible review of rates. That's where we stand at this time.
Will I ask now, is there a process for increasing tariffs? Because some say the NCC reacted by saying that there should be a process. So what process should be followed? Because you cited the likes of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, reviewing electricity tariffs based on current realities. Now, do you have that kind of, do you replicate that in your sector? Do you have that replicated in your sector?
Certainly, yes. We're a highly regulated industry, and no individual operator is able to review tariff without recourse to the regulator. And what we have done is to draw the attention of our regulator to the current floor price for voice and data. We related out to current statistics in terms of the dynamics of the economy and the trends of inflation. We have asked that some regulatory mechanism be put in place to be able to forestall downward slide in both in the grade of services and also in the sustainability of the industry. Yes, to provide a straight answer to your question, we're highly regulated and we are unable to review those rates without recourse to the regulator and without obtaining the necessary regulatory approval. That's the process that we have now commenced to inform them about where we are, requesting for some form of intervention with a view to preventing possible hike in end user prices.
Let's look at the issues now, the issues raised in this high cost of diesel, business operations getting unbearable, and harassment, frivolous taxes and levies imposed by all manner of agencies. Can you tell us more about this?
In the first instance, at the beginning of this year, diesel was sold at 210, 215 naira per liter. Today, the numbers have gone up, now selling at about 680, in some cases 700,000. That's 700 naira per meter. That no doubt has an impact on the cost of doing business. Being a sector that is heavily energy dependent, and as you do know, number of operating sites across the country are running on diesel fuel. So this, in the first instance, have had significant impact on cost of providing services. That's number one. Number two, because of the high cost of diesel, how expensive it is to procure diesel, we're having several cases of vandalization of sites where people go at the night time to vandalize telecom sites and steal diesel. Also stealing batteries and inverters from telecom sites. Sadly, some of the batteries that are used to power in people's inverters in homes, a few of them are actually stolen from telecom sites. That's one problem. The other one is on the behavior of the public actors, the number of agencies of government, particularly at the state level, in an attempt to collect revenue from operators which are not necessarily in the statute. They often seal up sites, arrest workers of telecom companies, and the rest of them. And all of this we brought to the attention of the regulator and asking that the right mechanism be put in place to protect us from this kind of interference so that we can continue to provide similar services across the country.
Let's look at this recent reduction of excise duty of 5% on telecom services. What does this mean for your business?
It's not a reduction, actually. It's not a reduction. It's an introduction of 5% excise tax on members. Yeah, it's an introduction.
Yeah.
And what that also means is that effective from 1st of June, there will be an additional 5% charge on services provided by operators, both for voice and data services. We think this is wrongly timed. And part of what we have asked the regulator to consider is to make the necessary request to government to step down on this for now, because it also adds to all of the number of taxes and levies that we've been paying as an industry. In order to mitigate the impact of that, of the current trend on the market, we're saying that regulators should consider stepping that down for now. Now reading that some form of consumption tax, actually, so because it's going to be charged on end user services, voice and data, not necessarily on the importation of equipment. So we think there is some form of consumption tax that the government should not introduce at this time.
So in your thoughts, meeting with NCC and all of that, you are the players in the sector. What is realistic at the moment? Let us just understand so that we know where we stand. Our paychecks are not increasing, but all fees, everything is on the higher side. Aviation fuel, we see what's happening also with aviation fees. Now, what really is practical and what's the reality at the moment, Mr. Adebayo?
Numbers don't lie. The statistics are there. Even the National Bureau of Statistics has issued a recent report about the trend of inflation in the first 2 months of the year, and we see where we are. And given the numbers that we are seeing, we think that to have a sustainable sector, prices must be realistic, and that's the fact of it. It's not something that we wish for at this time, but the reality is that for us to sustain this industry, we must have rates that are realistic with the current realities of the market, because our sector is not operating outside the socio-economic framework of other sectors of the economy. So problems that is faced by all other sectors are also being faced by us. We continue to provide services on non-discriminating basis, available at all times and in all places. This is being done at significant cost. And it is our desire to continue to provide those services at the current rate that we have, in order to forestall a possible review of prices. Is why we have asked for this regulating intervention at this time. And we hope that responsible authorities will grant this so that we don't have to introduce something that will impact on the lives of the average Nigerians.
What's about the executive order declaring telecom infrastructure as critical national infrastructure to mitigate costs spent replacing damaged and stolen infrastructure? Can you put us through and let us shed more light?
It's also part of the prayers that we are seeking from our regulator. We are also saying that issues of interference that we have cases of people going to vandalize sites, like I said earlier. We have willful damage to telecom infrastructure. We have cases of landlords seizing telecom sites. We have cases of local government agencies in the name of trying to collect some revenue or the other. They are closing telecom sites. They are arresting those who work for telecom operators. And we are saying that if our infrastructure is classified as critical national security and economic infrastructure, we will be ring-fenced from all of these interferences. One is to reduce our cost of doing business, to enable us to provide better services across the country, and will minimize the general interference that we currently have across the various networks. Whether you will like or not, part of the thing that impacts on quality of service is the behavior of these public actors. And we are saying that with this infrastructure classified as critical national security and economic infrastructure, we will have protection against this kind of interferences. That's part of the prayers that we are seeking from our regulator at this time.
Well, I was also looking at the impact of security because, one way has an impact or the other on the telecommunication sector. Now, I'm looking at the outlook that we had before now, Mr. Adebayo. With all of this, there seems like there could be a rejig or a reprojection for the telecommunication sector. What do you think?
Well, we think so. Like it is for other sectors, we think so. Because once the baseline changes, once the base cost changes, all of the other dynamics on that will change. And we need to be careful while we don't wish to introduce things that will make people uncomfortable. We need to be careful and remind ourselves that there is no industry or sector that is immune against failure. And for us to have a sustainable sector, we must price right. For us to price right, we must take into account all of the economic indicators to be able to sustain the industry. Now, sadly, when people look at the performance of the sector, they look at just the output of some of the players. Doesn't necessarily reflect the true state of health of the industry. We have telecom companies that are also struggling to pay salaries. We have companies that are struggling to pay wages and the rest of them. So it's not right to use the performance of a few of our members as a general overall performance of the industry. We have our internal problems as a sector. We are calling on government to see how best to assist the sector so that we can continue to have a sustainable telecom industry. So the numbers will change as the dynamics changes, and we are hoping that the prayers that we are seeking from government to the regulator at this time will be granted so that we don't have any possible review of rates. So what we have said so far is if this is not done, the implication is that we may have to charge as high as what is being proposed. But if we're able to get this intervention and timely so from the regulator, from government to our regulator, we think that we will be able to sustain what we currently have.
Well, let's a lot of issues there. I must agree with you in the plate, Mr. Adebayo. But let's look at NCC's releasing letters of license awards to the likes of MTN and Mafab as the 5G spectrum winners. What are your expectations with regards to this? And what impact do you really think this will also have in the entire sector?
Well, the technology is dynamic, and we need to continue to move with the trends of technology. We are pleased about the introduction of 5G. We believe that that will help in realizing the overall national broadband plan objective of government. We believe it will help commerce, believe it will provide better grade of services in those areas, and we believe that the sector will be better for it if we continue to introduce new technologies as it evolves around the world. So we cannot be behind. We can't say because of the state of our local economy or the changing parameters of our economic outlook, we will not introduce new technology. So we think it's for the better, but under all and every circumstances, prices have to be right so that we can sustain the industry.
I'll ask you this before I let you go. One more before I let you go. I saw the August 2020 KPMG report on determination of cost-based pricing for wholesale and retail broadband service in Nigeria. But my question goes one way. Is it rightly priced, broadband service? Is it rightly priced in Nigeria, in your assessment?
Well, again, we are providing statistics to the regulator and the data provided to them, and as well as the studies that they are also conducting. We provide the right guidance to everyone, actually. Again, we are a highly regulated sector. Our regulator is very dynamic. Part of the success we have recorded in the industry so far is due to the dynamic nature of our regulator. So we believe that looking at all the variables from all ends of the divide, the regulator will come with something that is fair, that is just, that will be beneficial to the industry and as well as to the subscribers. What is important for me to emphasize is that the subscribers are the reasons why we are here. So it is not in our place to introduce rates that will make people uncomfortable, but we think that for the common good of all, the industry has to be sustainable. And that's why we are talking about what we are talking about. We are saying to the regulator, this is the true state of affairs. Please look at these variables so that we can continue to provide similar services across the country. So we have that in mind, and we believe that the industry, like any other sector of the economy, is a lot of work in progress. But government really need to help the sector.
All right, finally, now, a lot has been said to the regulator and all of that. Now, how are your members also faring at this time, looking at all of these challenges? Yes, it's not limited to telecommunication sector, but practically tell us a little bit of what's been happening.
Well, difficult, as you can imagine. There are some parts of the country that we can't do maintenance after certain hours of the day due to safety of personnel. Haulage is difficult. To get diesel to some part of the country is very difficult, both in terms of logistics and security and safety. So we face basically the same problem as every other sector is facing. But the assurance for the public is that in spite of those challenges that we face, we will continue to provide services on non-discriminating basis at all times and in all places. And people should not worry about the possibility of telecom outage or so. We are here to stay. We are here to serve the people. We will continue to do the best that we can to ensure that we have uninterrupted services across the country.
Interesting conversation with you as usual, Mr. Gbenga Adebayo. I must thank you so much for your time. He's the Chairman Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.